I want to give a huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Therapy isn't something to run away from, it's a vessel to run towards. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it's 100% online, so break out your comfies. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time. Anytime. And schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. No more fumbling to get a session on the calendar. You schedule based on when the time is right for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. Therapy changed my life for the better. Pun intended. And with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Rocky. That's betterhelp.com/Rocky. This was a different kind of wild week for my family. This week, my grandmother turned 87. My grandmother is very cool. You can have a conversation with her. She's with it. She'll tell you herself her general vessel and body is not the most comfortable, but her mind is 100% sound. And that's really lucky because, as we can see by our country's leadership, the older you get, you could start slipping. And I don't mean physically, but that happens too. Her turning 87 really got me thinking. 1, we asked her which Jonas brother she would bang. With the quickness, she said Kevin. I guess the grand apple does fall far from the tree because I am a Nick girl myself. And she's gotten into smoking weed, not regularly, but just, for the aches, for the pains. And she'll take a puff here and there. And honestly, it's made her gigglier. It's alleviated some of her aches. And when your whole family smokes weed, you can kind of just sit there and pass the joint and all take a collective sigh at how silly it all is. But you can do it together, stoned. So her turning 87 got me thinking, maybe we all need to reassess where we're at and make sure we're living our life to the fullest. It is very easy to get caught up in work. It is very easy to get caught up in personal relationships. And it is very easy to let life pass you by. I bet you she never pictured her life at 87. I know I don't. Every time I try to think that far ahead and imagine what my life will be, it's kind of like this fog rolls in, and my brain won't let me visualize that far ahead. What I do know is I try to live as in the present as I can. That's shaped my life in a huge way. I have had countless wild nights. I've had countless amazing experiences just by letting go and being a little more free. And I was curious what some wants, some regrets, some woulda, coulda, shouldas of elderly people were, so I Googled it. Some of the top regrets that older people have, one was choosing a partner. A lot of people will say if you're in a great relationship, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm sure that's true most of the time. Every day shouldn't feel like you're dreading seeing their face. Eating a meal with a person shouldn't feel like you want to rip their tongue out because you don't like the sound of their chewing. And maybe there are some days that are like that in relationships. But people stay together because they like the ride. They like the companionship and they like the person that they're with. So many times we jump into things because we think, well, this is it. But newsflash, people are just living longer. And some people can't get out of relationships easily. So when you're picking that special person, I'm not saying be the pickiest picky person there ever was, but I'm just saying, make sure it feels right. I think Goldie Hawn and What's-His-Face did it really well. What's his name? Kurt Russell. Granted, they both came into it divorced. Granted, they both came into it with kids. But every day they wake up and they choose each other. So make sure you're with somebody that you're happy you chose. Elderly people also wish they had been a better child to their parents, a better parent to their child, a better friend, a better sibling. Nobody's perfect. We're all weighed down with stresses and things we gotta get done. But one thing I think could aid in this, being a better fill in the blank, taking a second to breathe. Life is short, but it's long too. And if you're lucky, you get to go through different chapters with the same people, growing and knowing them better. One way I think to be better to those people in your life is to take a breath before you say something you really regret. Just take a breath. It might feel really good to say something mean or hurtful in the moment, but I promise you, it'll only be more detrimental in the long run. So watch that tongue, baby. Taking more risks. I'm not saying hitting it raw, not those kind of risks. There's like a new STD every day. Put a fucking condom on. Jesus Christ. I get it, we're animals. But if you're gonna go bouncing around from dick to dick or puth to puth, just put a condom on. And you can say, oh, the show's called Wild Nights. That's not really wild. Honestly, yeah, it is. It is, trust me. You can have a wild night and still use a condom. And your piss won't burn in the morning. And you can spend less time at the doctor and more time on the doctor. You feel what I'm saying? This whole tangent started off by me telling you that elderly people regretted not taking as many risks. And then I gave you a lecture on condoms. That's because I gotta be mom and dad on this podcast, okay? So maybe you didn't like hearing that, but I'm saying take other risks. Go out with somebody that you normally wouldn't go out with. See if you can build trust with someone new by telling them something personal to get to the next level. Say yes to another cocktail out. Somebody passes you a little ganj and you're in a situation where it's safe to have the ganj. Try the ganj for the first time. Adults. Another thing they regretted is they didn't live their dream. I'm going to say one thing about dreams right now. Unless you are a Nepo baby, unless you have an extreme leg up in the field that you're working in, and the field is your dream field, it is really, really hard to live your dream. But why the fuck else would you want to live someone else's dream? Doesn't that seem harder? Maybe that's easier said than done, but I am following my dream. And I'm lucky and privileged to be able to do it at the capacity that I can do it. But if you can follow your dream even a little, then follow it a little bit more, then follow it a little bit more. Then one day, you might not say, hey, I wish I followed my dream. Maybe your dream is to make clogs. Somebody's got to make clogs. I haven't seen anybody making clogs lately. The last one I'll give you is that they wish that they'd taken better care of their body. This one's tough, right? We don't want to stretch. We don't want to go to the gym. We don't want to eat right, but that stuff catches up with you. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's better than swallowing a bunch of hard pills, which is what will happen if you don't take care of your body now. I have a friend who will always opt for the stairs over the elevator. And you know what? That's the better choice. If you don't use your body, you lose your body. Wake up in the morning and try to touch your fucking toes. Can't touch your toes? Stretch your arms. By doing all this stuff now, oh my God, my neighbors are screaming at each other. They need to hear some of this life advice. All these moves we make now only help to ensure we have a better life later. And later in life is coming, so make it better now. Think of it as lying your clothes out for the first day of school the night before. Except instead of going to stupid school, you're going to the school of life. And you pick the curriculum. Happy birthday, Graham. Hope you had a wild day.
Time for
Duh. Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, are you feeling good? I'll be honest with you, I'm happy, I'm feeling good, but I'm a little blue. That's called duality, because you can be both at once, and I'm a little blue, I guess. Bittersweet is a better word. I'm feeling bittersweet. I had an amazing summer. It was so much fun. I spent a ton of time with family. I spent a ton of time with friends. I went to concerts. I partied. I performed, and I did this podcast week after week. It was amazing. I can't help but get a little bittersweet about the end of summer. Oh, I don't like the end of summer. I wish that summer was another month or 2 or 3. I like the holidays. Don't get me wrong. I'm not much for the weather during the holidays. I would prefer a sunny Christmas, but I would love just a little bit more of summer. And I guess that's one of the things that makes summer special, right? It goes by so quickly and it always leaves you wanting more. We could all take a page out of summer's book. Leave them wanting more. Well, summer 2023, you left me wanting more, baby. Thank you for the memes. As the slew of August birthdays continue, it was my Aunt Maria's birthday last week. I got to celebrate a little bit of it with her and my cousin, and it was so much fun. We wanted to go on this hike. First of all, I can't even begin to tell the story that she told about my family. My mom, my dad, my uncles, her on a trip back from my aunt's wedding. I mean, the details, the suspense, the wildness of all of it. It was just such a good story, and listening to her go into our family vault and rip out this story proves why I have this podcast, why I love listening to people's wild stories. Truth is always stranger than fiction. People are out here having experiences. I want to know them. So even though it was my aunt's birthday, I felt like she was giving me and my cousin this gift by sharing this family story that I can't wait to retell the younger members of my family. If you're a cool person, odds are your relatives above you were cool too. They walk so you could strut. And I'm not claiming to be cool, but I will tell you that they are. Then we were going to go on this hike because it was 2.5 white women, but there was no trail when we got there, and it was kind of a gloomy day, and we all were kind of getting the vibe that a hike is out of the question. But we had driven so far, and Google Maps had taken us all over the place, and even though we didn't care that we didn't do the hike, we still had food for a picnic, we still had laughs in the car. We still wanted to spend her birthday day doing something a little interesting, so we saw a sign for a book barn. Have you ever been to a book barn? A book barn is basically a barn that has a bunch of used books in it, and they are way cheaper than what you would have paid. It's like a thrift store / library for books. I think you get it. I don't think I need to go into the details of what a book barn is, but I'm going to go into the details of what this book barn was. The floors, made of wood, completely uneven. It was like the wood was Play-Doh and somebody just put it all over the floor and then it hardened as wood. That's the best way I could describe it, because it wasn't like stepping on wood, but it was like rolly wood. Certainly not for the queasy. It was cool because it smelled like a library, and I do like the smell of a used book. This particular book barn had one book barn at the bottom and then another book barn at the top of the hill. We were the only 3 people at the top of the hill. However, this father and his 2 sons pulled up to the book barn. They got out of the car and they started pulling pears off the tree. At least I think they were pears, because plums, do those grow on a tree? These didn't look like plums. And the dad starts picking and the kids start picking. And then the book barn clerk came outside and kind of gave him a look like, yo, my guy, you guys coming inside to buy a book, or are you just going to eat all our fucking pears? The guy didn't stand down though. He looked her right in the eyes and he kept eating the pear plums. Maybe they were apples. The fruit, he kept eating the fruit. We watched this whole thing go down while we had a picnic at the book barn's only table before we went inside the book barn. We didn't get any trouble from the lady because we brought our own food. I think as chill as the book barn is, you gotta bring your own food. Otherwise, you're gonna get nasty looks from the book barn clerk. After we had our picnic, after the stare down, we go to the top hill book barn because there's 2. No one was in this. And I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't enjoy looking at one of these books because I had to pee worse than anything. But because a book barn looks very murdery, it looks like the beginning of a horror movie. I didn't want to ask where there was a bathroom, but it was dire. So I go down, I walk down the hill, past the pear guy and his kids, and I say to the book barn clerk, "Hi, how are ya? Do you happen to have a bathroom I could use?" To which she replied, "I do happen to have a bathroom you can use." Then said nothing, then stared at me, and then pointed down the hall. Naturally, I almost texted my cousin and my aunt and said, "I'm gonna die in this book barn bathroom. If you find me, lay a Jackie Collins novel next to me. That's how I'd want to be remembered at the book barn. She died how she lived, reading smutty Jackie Collins novels in the bathroom. I didn't die, obviously, here I am, but it definitely looked like the set of a crime scene in there. But I was grateful for the bathroom, so I shouldn't talk shit. We made it out of the book barn unscathed, and I gotta tell ya, I'm so glad we did that. It was so different, it was so interesting, and less scary than a hike. I went on a date earlier this week. Ooh, so exciting. She is out there, baby. It is almost cuffing season, and I'm getting a head start. The date was perfectly fine. Besides, even if it wasn't, last time I went on a date and I talked shit about the guy, he found my podcast, even though the odds were against him. And he listened to my podcast, even though I didn't tell him I had a podcast. One of the perks of pre-fame, undercover podcaster. And he found my podcast anyway, and he listened to me talk shit about him. So now, if I go on a date and I'm going to talk shit about the guy, I am going to wait several weeks, and I'm going to make sure it is the funniest, most ruthless shit talking on a podcast episode that was ever recalled on a podcast episode. Because how dare you tell me what I can talk about on my date? Anyway, that rant was not at the guy I went on a date with the other day. He was a very lovely, very nice guy. And he told me that I reminded him of Drew Barrymore. When someone tells me I remind them of Drew Barrymore, be it a date or not, well, I'm gonna do a Drew Barrymore impression. And maybe what I just did not sound like a Drew Barrymore impression, but I guarantee you the face did. And I'll work on the impression. I want it to come out smooth. I want it to come out impressive. That is such a nice compliment to be told you remind someone of Drew Barrymore. Will there be a second date? I don't know. He didn't say Margot Robbie. Speaking of Drew Barrymore, this week she was at an interview at the 92nd Street Y, and this guy comes running up to the stage and says something along the lines of, "You know we need to talk," or "I have to talk to you while you're here in New York," or "while I'm here in New York," or blah, 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 insert other psycho thing. And it turns out this guy is a stalker to many. They were able to get Drew off the stage safely. Scary. To me, there's two sides of that coin. Either this guy really has something he has to tell Drew, and she won't answer any of his messages, none of his texts, none of his DMs, but she knows she owes this guy a conversation. Or he's a full-blown nut job. I'm glad it was handled well. And what I'm about to say is very controversial. I do not want to be stalked. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I don't want anybody being weird. I don't want anybody showing up where I'm at saying, "Hey, I knew you were going to be here. We got to talk about something really important." I do not want to be stalked. I would probably take action if I was getting stalked. Who knows? But I will say, it's a little flattering, right? And if you didn't laugh at that, if you didn't find any bit of humor in that, that's because you're not someone anyone's ever going to stalk. Do you know what people like? They like dry, cozy blankets. Nobody likes a wet blanket. Speaking of wet, do you know what else I found out this week? That they don't test tampons with real blood. Anyone who's listening to this who has never experienced a monthly period or may never experience a monthly period, I didn't mean to blindside you. I know people who don't experience periods get a little squeamish, and I'm here to say, get over it. I could have told you that they don't test tampons with real blood. I am very experienced at this point in life at having a period, and I'll tell you right now what's never worked, month after month, a tampon. There's always a little issue with it. Do you see how women get the short end of the stick? Literally. Sometimes the tampons are too short. I don't know where they would get the human blood to test the tampons. I don't work at Tampon Inc. I'm just saying, can I have one that works before it's too late? And if any tampon companies want to send me free tampons, please do. You can get my address from my stalker. I was watching TV this week and I saw multiple times a commercial for a pill by the name Jardiance. Jardiance is a pill for type 2 diabetes, and when I tell you, this was the most upbeat, positive, happy, this is a creme de la creme of musical commercials. I know everyone says, oh, all these pharmaceutical commercials are getting out of hand. We're making fun of the people dancing in them, being so happy. But when I tell you this Jardance, whatever it is, commercial is not only out of hand, it's out of pocket, out of touch, and out of control. Listen, I'm going to say this as cool and as sexy and as smooth as I can. We live in a country that gives us nothing but processed food, baby. We got carcinogens everywhere we look, like we're the fucking Tanner family. Other countries ban things that are in our food because they're poison. And then some Americans get type 2 diabetes because of what they're being fed and what's available at their grocery stores. And then they're expected to get on pills that their insurance company may or may not cover based on the insurance that they have. And then they hire actors to play happy people taking this type 2 diabetes medicine. Do what you will with that information. But in the meantime, if you see this commercial for Jardiance, know that it shouldn't be that fucking jovial to have type 2 diabetes. Okay? Just some food for thought. And I don't want to go on a rant about And Just Like That. I really don't. If you don't know what And Just Like That is, it's the Sex and the City spin-off that's still Sex and the City, but it doesn't have all the original characters, and then it's got some new characters, and the writing is different. But I can't turn it off. I watch it week after week. So what I'm about to say, if you haven't seen, the title of the episode is The Last Supper, Part 1. If you haven't seen The Last Supper, Part 1, and you don't care about spoilers, this is about to be spoiled. I'm about to spoil it, is the build-up, okay? So Carrie's new old boyfriend, not Mr. Big, because Mr. Big died on episode 1, like a week before he got Me Too'd publicly. Very convenient, if you ask me too. It's her old boyfriend. I think his name is Burger. Anyways, most people say they really liked him. I'm not really paying attention to the names when I'm watching the show. So her old boyfriend, who's now her new boyfriend, is back in the picture. But he has kids now. So he's come back into her life, and he has these children, but the children live with the mother. The mother is not really a good mother to the children, so they want to be with him, the father. But the father is up gallivanting in Manhattan with Carrie Bradshaw. They'll call, and he'll FaceTime with them and Carrie, and the kids don't want to see Carrie because they're like, who is this bitch that's stealing our dad? It's all very 90s teen drama. One of the kids has a breakdown, and he has to go fly home and be with him. This is after Carrie's bought this huge apartment that she tells him all him and his kids can come live in it. This is our home. Carrie Bradshaw, a mother. So he comes back and tells Carrie that he can't move in with her. He needs 5 years. How many times have we heard that, ladies? Am I right? My advice? Don't wait. Carrie is not my friend, so she didn't take my advice, and I think she's going to wait for him. But all of this is just to say his son is 14, and apparently the kid took shrooms. Should any 14-year-old be taking shrooms? Absolutely not. And no one should be taking them illegally and underage. All that being said, what a way to vilify mushrooms, am I right? Another thing to just be aware of, right? As mushrooms become legal in more states, as we see the healing benefits of psilocybin coming out against PTSD and trauma and depression, it's just interesting that they were the choice substance to be vilified. The timing seems apropos. That's it, that's all. What do I know? I'm just a sexy little New York single gal with a penchant for marijuana. And that brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1, has anyone ever gotten robbed while eating peanuts and the thief had a peanut allergy? Number 2, how many times where you just live in your life and author Tom Clancy walked by you and you had no idea. Number 3, I put my chip inside your dip. Eat your dip, my chip, we dip. You put your chip inside my dip. Eat my dip, your chip, our dip. I put my chip inside your dip. Eat your dip, my chip, we dip. You put yours, and I put mine. And we dip down low and grind. And number 4, do you think that when artists are making big, huge, chart-topping songs, that they think, damn, I can't wait for this to be playing at a grocery store on a Sunday at 3 p.m. Let us not forget about our friends in Hawaii, everybody. Right now, it's looking like one of the things that are top priority that they need are air purifiers. If you're looking for a way to donate safely where you know the money will get to them, you can go to my Instagram. I have the link right up there. It's very easy. Do not let this tragedy become old news because it is very much real-time news. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. If you want to watch extended interviews with me and all my guests, please subscribe to me on YouTube. You can support the show by joining my Patreon for $2 or $5 a month. If you're enjoying the free content week after week, it is a great way to say, hey, Rocky, we're riding with you. Another way is by writing a review on Apple Podcasts, and a big thank you and a future thank you to everyone who's written a review. It really does make a difference. I hope your summer was wild. I hope your summer was memorable. I hope you got rid of anything that isn't serving you. I hope you're reaching your goals. I hope you're getting laid. I hope you're getting paid. And most of all, I hope you're being beautiful from the inside out. And with that, I'll see you next week, baby. Same wild time, same wild channel.